Should we get started? We're like 2 minutes into the meeting,
Yeah,
and I think
probably.
we have a quorum. So before we get into the sprint planning part, are there stand-up updates that people would like to share? I know we have been gone for a few days.
I think I was the only one who was gone. So
Yeah.
I was learning Rust. I mean, I'm not fully comfortable with Rust, so I was learning about traits, implementation of structures, etc.
Mhm.
And I've got a better grip at it, and I'll be learning through the project as well.
Yeah, I think that is what all of us here started as, trying to learn Rust and figuring out how it works versus the previously known language for each of us, which was different. So yeah, welcome to the club. We are all learning Rust.
Except for the bordership, I'm pretty comfortable with everything. Like,
Mhm.
more or less, the references are really not the easiest part. They're
Yes,
quite
they are
hard.
not. Yep. And as you learn or stumble, don't hesitate to share or ask questions or share what you're learning or gotchas. Okay. Any other stand-up updates?
I have just a real quick. I started reading up on BitSwap. That's interesting stuff.
Okay.
Steve let me know that that's probably the technology we're going to be pursuing. So it seemed like a good thing to read up on.
Yeah. I have a quick show and share. So I just created a draft pull request based on my discussion I had with Mitali about the test of the module I wrote, and I just filled in all these checkboxes. So thank you, Abhijit. I know you worked on building this PR template, and it basically keeps me in check on what I'm trying to do. This is still, my PR is still in draft mode, but I went through each of these items before I created this. So yeah, so that was what I did outside of the work we were doing in Atlanta. Any other stand-up-y things? If not, then we'll go to the
maybe I can quickly share that I've created some issues from what we were already doing in the peer-to-peer field, and one is well, the first step, and we are about to launch a pull request for that. That will be probably early tomorrow morning our time.
Okay.
It was ready, but some artifact manager tests are still failing.
Okay.
Don't know why.
Yeah.
And then for the rest, I created some other issues that I think need to happen as well, but that's probably for the sprint planning then.
Yes, and I also need to share stuff that you missed because of time zone.
Yeah.
So that leads into the conversation. Okay. Anybody else?
I'm just about to finish up this blockchain API pull request. Finally, I think I'm finally ready. I'm just fixing up merges and conflicts, but should have some today. Yep.
Great. Okay. Okay. So I'll do this in two parts, and let's see how much time we use up today. But I'll share the stuff that we discussed in Atlanta just to chalk out a path towards MVP. Not all the edges are figured out, and we don't know everything. But whatever we know, we have gone through an effort of listing, prioritizing, and going into enough detail so that we can start marching towards it. Okay, this does not change anything that is still pending for demo. So demo still remains the priority. We need an excellent, or whatever gaps we had identified, we need to fix them first. So prioritization wise, if whatever you're working on is required for the demo, work on that first. Then jump to the MVP one. Again, there might be overlaps. You're saying, oh, this might be required for demo, but in the long term, I have to make a decision because for MVP, we are not going to do it this way. That is a good problem to have, and we can have a discussion, or we can make a decision at that time. Okay. So Erwin, especially for you, because the rest of the people were there, and Abhijit, since you missed the entire discussion, I'll start from the beginning. Okay. So one of the main goals of the on-site we had was have a bunch of people in the room, so that actually we can brainstorm how we are going to build the most what you call watch for features of our product, and what are the things that are known, what are the things that need some research. So we went through an exercise, and there were changes along the way as we discovered. So what we did was we identified high level epic or themes, and then we tried to drill down. So a couple of themes that we discussed upfront were, how does Pyrsia integrate into the CI flow, and how it works on the developer machine. And both these, we thought that we had a good handle, and there is a script which says, okay, do this, do this, do this, and this is how you will get it to work on developer machine. And out of those steps, if one of the steps doesn't work, then doesn't work right now, then that is, we'll split that into a GitHub issue and implement that and fill that gap. Something similar we had done with our demo script. Like, what do we need for a demo? We need to follow these steps. This should happen. And if any of the steps are missing currently, because we just imagined those steps, then create a GitHub issue, implement them, fill the gap, and make sure we have a complete demo script. So these two will be covered in that, and I won't spend a lot of time, because this was just refinement of what we thought for the demo. And Abhijit, if you wanted to learn more, I can send you more resources on this, just more context. The most of the time we spent was on defining what a transparency log is, because we all agreed that one of the main features that people will come to Pyrsia for is to verify this transparency log, or to establish this transparency log when they're committing. And what does a transparency log mean? It means it has all the information that a consumer needs to verify and understand that a particular package that they are consuming has some provenance. They can go back in history and find out what happened to it, who committed, what was committed, how it was committed, what was built, etc. And we went through a lot of brainstorming and broke every large chunk of feature into smaller ones, right? Again, so when we did break, for example, how does blockchain itself work to build the transparency log, we ran into a place where, okay, we don't know anything beyond this, right? We know so much, and then there are things that we'll discover that we'll add to this list. So we kind of stopped that conversation there, because that's how much we know. Something similar, we assessed what kind of data goes and sits into the blockchain, and its interface, and the details of it. But again, we know that there are some places we need to research, like there is an explore story, and we have references to research or use as inspiration to build our model. So we stopped at this. And so what I'm going to do is take each of these stickies and sort of elaborate and create a GitHub issue with it. The other thing that I was thinking of doing is add a tag like so, like the whatever the theme tag on each of those stories. So you know that, okay, if you're looking for transparency log stuff, then all of them are tagged with transparency log. So a cue to Erwin is, when you write the lib P2P stories, I know you wrote a bunch of them already. Can you add a tag? It says peer-to-peer network, or right, or that, so that we can find it easily when we are looking at it. So this was about the transparency log and how the blockchain will be constructed, but it's not limited only to the blockchain, but also includes the interactions that users will have and the questions that users can ask to the transparency log. There was one more decision that we made, is that given how the consensus algorithms work, and as well as how we want to limit how blockchain gets committed to, we are going to introduce a concept called what we brainstormed and called it at that time trusted node, or a commit node, or blockchain node. And then I think the final name I heard was central node. And all of this is not like final. There might be another one that might emerge, which will exactly describe or more perfectly describe that node. which has the ability to commit to the blockchain. All the other peer nodes, which are working on individual developer machines, are going to be called peer nodes, and they can only read from the blockchain. They can't commit to the blockchain. And there are some constraints about how we want this to happen, and what kind of stuff should be committed, and how a node becomes a trusted node. So that is a new concept, and we are going to build that as part of the infrastructure we'll have in the cloud. This also will help new developers or new users of Pyrsia join, because now they'll have a trusted node where they can bootstrap themselves and figure out how the network is working right now before they have to establish a number of peers. And this is the peer-to-peer work that Johan demoed, sort of the beginnings of it. And we have not done the work of splitting what all falls into the category of peer-to-peer support. And I was hoping, or I was going to ask you, Erwin, and then Johan, to go ahead and do a similar exercise for this and try to come up with as complete a list as you can, right? And then there can be things like this where, we don't know enough. When we get there, we'll figure out. But come with as complete a list as you can, and then add. If I don't know if you have access to Lucidchart, but that doesn't matter. You just add. In the end, all of these are going to become GitHub issues. So make sure you add GitHub issues and add way more text than the words that are fitting on these stickies, so that we can all understand what is going on. There are a couple more categories. One was around engaging with OpenSSF and going through the process of figuring out how we can be a real project under their umbrella. Just becoming a platform where we welcome people like Abhijit who are just trying to contribute and to this ecosystem. How can we make it easier? I know Abhijit has questions when he started, and some of it was scattered information. So how do we make it so that it's super easy for people to join? And this falls, the last item falls in the sort of marketing category, but also needs a lot of developer support, because first-time user experience is not only documentation or the website or blogs and talks, but we also need to build a good way of bringing up Pyrsia. And then write documentation, write technical documentation, so that a first-time user experience is stellar for when we release the MVP. And then there's the stuff that we said, we are not going to do this for MVP, given how much we have above the red line already, and the goal is to try to deliver all this in about a month after the demo. So the demo is going to happen at SwampUp, which is usually held the week before Memorial Day, which this year is May 24th to 26th, I think, is when SwampUp is happening. That's when we'll have the stage to actually do a workshop and do a little bit of a demo during the keynote. So that's what we are aiming towards. And then just to have a goal, we said, can we get all this done before July 4th, which is like that could be a good announcement, and we should figure out as a team what parts can be done, or if things cannot be finished by July 4th, is there another date that we should announce? So at the demo, we'll not say that it is ready to be used, but people can still look at the code. But what we want to share is a possible date that people can actually have all these features available, not too far in the future. So that is the goal. Does that make sense, Erwin? For the parts you missed, yeah. Abhijit, does that make sense as a overview of where this project is headed?
I think you can ignore the first question to the RESTful services, because
you asked something in the chat. Sorry, I'm not looking at the chat. Sorry.
Okay, so in the chat I asked about trusted nodes, and in hub.docker they use an account called Dojanki, which acts as the trusted nodes for a lot of official images. So will the trusted node be a part of the Pyrsia organization of the community itself, or will we be deciding on that later?
Okay. So I think this bears repeating. The trusted node is not, some code that is written by Docker or written by Google or written by another large organization. Trusted node code and how it works and how it interacts with the rest of the Pyrsia network is all written by us. So we will, like right now we have a binary for the Pyrsia node. We have a binary for the Pyrsia CLI. Similarly, we'll have a binary and whatever the equivalent of binary is, it's a Docker image or whatnot, for running a trusted node. Now, if a sponsor like Docker wants to run a trusted node, what they'll do is they'll provide the funds and infrastructure and maybe people who can manage and keep the node running. They won't run anything that is proprietary or was built by a team at Docker. So all the code will be developed by the Pyrsia team. Just that these organizations who are already trusted organizations within Pyrsia, they can just for the community's sake, they can provide funding to that. Does that make sense?
I find it very confused. I personally find it really confusing when you say like the Docker team is not going to be writing code. Like I think a more my understanding of it so far. May I finish? I'm sorry. Yeah. Right. My understanding is like the Docker team will not be doing any extra integration on their part to integrate with the Pyrsia network, and I think that's a more crisp way of putting it. Right. So the Pyrsia network will be a standalone entity, and companies may host a node, but they won't be doing anything special to make the network work. And I think that's the key element. It's not like writing code. It doesn't tell me what they're not doing. It's they're not integrating with the service.
Yeah.
I think the name,
that's good. That's good explanation, Chris. What I meant was that they won't write anything proprietary that is not on the Pyrsia GitHub repo. Everything will be in the repo, and it will be all part of the Pyrsia code base. They'll just be providing funds or DevOps. Yeah, go ahead, Arvind. What you?
Yeah, finding a good name and sticking to it will be very important, I think.
Very important. Yeah. So we have evolved, right? And like I said, last known name that was thrown around was Central Node.
Central Node,
yeah. We agree that it is not just a commit node. We agree that it's not just the blockchain node. And trusted did have a lot of pushback, just the word trust and trusted. So we were looking to steer away.
Yeah, maybe I oversimplify it when I say it's a publication node, but yeah, that's another discussion.
I mean,
all of them.
Maybe what we really ought to say is something like known key node or something, because all we're really saying is we trust the keys on this node, not
right.
Anyway.
Right. But the thing is, if we don't decide something and stick to it, this discussion will stay forever, I think.
Mm-hmm. I'm aware, and we have sort of in the last 4 days we have gone with a lot of candidates, but nothing seems that it fits very well. But let's go through ideas and just keep on listing and figure out, maybe one will resonate with us, and then we can.
It's also maybe to conclude this topic, but it's also not really an issue when we're going to talk about building stuff. So that's after MVP probably.
Yeah.
But then it will look differently probably, because we will not rely this much on trusted or central nodes.
Yeah. And then there is a discussion about whether the trusted node itself builds or it brings up infrastructure that builds and this.
Yeah, that's a whole different discussion. So
I think we should wait for later.
Yeah. So we'll go with a name that most of us don't disagree with, and then we'll. Right, I mean, that is how we come to consensus. We just find one that not most of us don't fight against, and then agree to disagree and continue. Okay, so I just wanted to use some of this time for Erwin to walk through the stuff that you already did on peer-to-peer, and then ask you some questions if people have them. And then what I wanted to ask was, can you, Johan and Yori, go through some of this, and from the conversation that we had, see if there are things missing, just point them out, and maybe we'll have an after discussion later in this week.
Yeah.
Because I don't think we can cover all this. This took us upwards of 2 hours just to brainstorm this and come up with. So I don't want to just all of us sit here when we are not all deep into it. And luckily we had the people who are working or did the research on the blockchain to actually hash out some of these and clarify. So given that all the people who are going to work on the peer-to-peer are located in your time zone, Arvind, you do the same brainstorming activity, and then
well, actually we already did. So like
so I can switch to that, and let's walk through what all you already did.
Well, if you look at the backlog column, I think the first
let me refresh. I think this one doesn't have the see this one, right?
First 4 issues, I think. Okay. Well, I think it starts with the 4th one, because that is the first one I created. So what actually, there's also one issue in progress, and that says integrate Docker component with the peer-to-peer component. That's the first one in progress. That doesn't have much information, but that is what we were actually working on last week and are consolidating right now. So that is basically saying, start up the peer-to-peer network and make sure that when a Docker image is requested, go look for it locally first, then in the Pyrsia network, and then eventually get it from Docker Hub. So that is as a first step, but with some shortcuts, and that's why I created the issue there. What is the number? 364. So a Pyrsia node can be started anywhere and join the peer-to-peer network. So the shortcuts we took is we always use the minus p or minus peer option to point it to the other node, so it can like bootstrap into the network. We have to fix that. That will probably be the idea, since we decided not to use BitTorrent. I don't think it makes sense to run a Synapse node centrally, but we could use the same infrastructure to run a Pyrsia node centrally, and somehow we could point to that with a DNS name, or there are some options there that are fault tolerant and
so you're talking about a bootstrapping node in the
something like that, but it has to be worked on how we'll do that. But that is one of the issues that would be one of the stickies in your research charts. So
one comment I wanted to make here, because I heard you say a few words that I don't see in the description. Can you add this, like you mentioned -p or something as an option, or -p?
Yeah.
Can you add the steps in the description? Like for me, I understood this, but I didn't understand what are the exact steps that are involved, and what is missing, and what is going to be
sure.
And if the if the bootstrap node is in scope for this ticket, or is it going to be in scope for another ticket?
I think it's this one. Yes.
Okay. So please add that, because that concept we haven't discussed.
No, indeed.
Please
but actually, I added those as some kind of triage labeled issues, so we could discuss them. But you're right. I will stuff them some more, and then we can discuss again.
So please add a lot more description.
Yes, sure.
Because,
Yeah.
So
this is basically this is basically the title in the sticky on.
Yeah, correct. Yeah.
Okay, if the other ones are the same, but I can go quickly over them. This is the thing we talked about, and that should be very easy to fix if not already fixed. So, but that's the thing, that we should always use the best node available. So it's probably using Kademlia and and all that. So it's pretty much already part of the file example that we started from. So that should be very easy. But I wanted to record it in an issue so we don't forget about
So
it.
in this case, how does what is the concept of best node?
Well, that's like I think Demlia solves all that for us. It's yeah, it has to be like it has to has the file we are requesting. That's for one, and secondly, it has yeah. There's some.
Yeah.
I'm not deeply into this, but
so I think the P2P Kademlia, that's correct. That provides the table always will see that okay, we have that file. But Arvind, when you mentioned make sure the Pyrsia node, so we know that we have that file in the network. How would we make sure that which one we are gonna like ask for it, right? So that is not part of the P2P, I think.
Well, I will ask Yuri Orion to stuff this a little bit more than in the issue, because I'm not deeply into the details of this, but I know they said this was still missing, so we need to fix that.
So Arvind, the question that I would have as somebody who has no background in Kademlia is what is the best node? How do like you mentioned that okay, Kademlia knows. How does Kademlia know? Can that be tuned? Those kinds of questions I would be interested in knowing. And if there is a lot more information within Kademlia, then we should surface that. And I'm not just saying from the implementation perspective, because eventually we'll also write some documentation which says, hey, this is how Pyrsia does its magic, and then we would have that would be our opportunity to explain the magic.
Well, that's actually the reason I wrote find the best node, because I could have written we have to use Kademlia, but that wouldn't say anything, right?
Say anything, yes.
So it's rather limited description, but it's a good starting point to get at more stuff. Yeah,
agreed.
So then
I will not remove the triage labels
until we have discussed
the description. We will do a quick review and then we'll remove that.
Sure, that's a good idea. Yeah. So the next one is what we discussed on Friday as well. So that was before we go to a full chunked file download from several different nodes, we could do something in between, and it is file download resuming, be it from the same node then. So we have to look into that. It's not sure how that is going to work, but I'm sure we can make it work somehow. But that has to be like.
So is this explore still? I mean, we don't know how
well,
that can happen.
Probably, yeah. This is more on explore, and then the next one as well.
Okay.
Because that is then what BitTorrent or IPFS would be giving us. But with all the extras as well that they give us, so that we don't want.
So one thing about explore stories, so explore stories save you the the trouble of putting stuff in description, because probably you don't know. But then I ask that once you're finished with explore, please fill in the description of what we learned and what in detail. So it's whether you do it after or before, we need to fill that.
Yeah, right.
Okay.
And I think that's where the issues I created.
Were the 4. Yeah. Okay. Let me go back to this. I think there were a couple of higher level areas we talked about. This is the interactions, the CLI interaction. I'll just say. And this, I think some of this you covered. This is, again, I colored it differently, and this is a side project. If you are able to find visualizations, we can try them out and figure out if it gives the information that people are looking for, and then add that to MVP. But this is not like required. This just adds the wow for people. Also, this is also a good project for somebody like Abhijit, if you want to explore this, and this will give you an opportunity to learn libp2p while not having to go into deep depths of Rust. and this wouldn't affect the main tree while you are actually exploring how all of this works and learning. And okay, this was an open question that we talked about, and I think this deserves an explore story to figure out how things will work behind
Right.
behind right. And for the MVP, we will need to explain to people how it works, so that they are comfortable, actually bringing up a Pyrsia network when they are ready to do that, because that is a question that all the network engineers will ask us. Okay, so yeah, let's fill this on your end, and basically fill this in GitHub, and then do a review maybe early next week. Is that good?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. With all the information filled. Okay, I'll stop this. Okay, they go here. So coming back to our sprint planning, that was largely MVP path planning. Coming back to our sprint planning, are there enough stories in the backlog that people know what needs to be done, or are there things that were added recently that need to be triaged, like these, that need to be talked about?
Yeah, I wanted to put something on on the back of your minds. I'm thinking about starting generating content, and one of the ideas I had is something we discussed last week, is actually showing how safe Pyrsia can operate in terms of the dependencies. Something like try to fuck with my supply chain. A kind of talk, right?
Kind of stuff.
And then,
yeah.
And then we can do stuff like, let's try to publish a binary which is compromised. And then we can show how the network rejects it. And then we can say, let's start faking or deleting some entries in the ledger. And then we can see how the client kind of, rejects that as well. And I think that will be a more successful kind of demo than just showing how everything works.
Yeah. So we still haven't built that. So how do you want to start doing it, Baruch? Should we just create a ticket where we say, here are the steps I would like us to do, so that it shows provenance, and then if we list down every single step, then those steps we could just give to the transparency log team and say, this is your integration test or acceptance test, basically.
Yeah, obviously. But and I was talking about more like creating content which is engaging and a little bit provocative and this kind of stuff. Like, hey, let's try to break this thing, and this is how we show that it's actually that it works. So it's not something, there are no like immediate action items. I know it should brew a little bit in our minds before we kind of have the ideas. But what I'll do, I'll open just a Google Doc to throw some ideas in, and I'll share it like tomorrow or whenever next stand up. And if you have some ideas about what will be a nice way to show, we try to break it, and it won't, then just draw it in, and I will create some kind of a content out of it.
And actually that is a good point. Let's start throwing those ideas on the Google Doc and figure out, and pull out things that are more appropriate at the time, and write blogs or content on that. So one of the things I think, Baruch, you listened to was how we decided on using Aleph BFT for our blockchain solution, and we were talking about all the research that we put in. We should create content and put it out there and explain to people, hey, here is how we picked technology that is going to work for us, and how we did the research. I think that is also worth sharing, so that's how we start building trust within the general public about how we are building things on Pyrsia. So we had I think 2 or 3 topics already. Chris was working on one of the blockchain consensus topics. then I was thinking about the decision that we took about using a certain blockchain technology. And then
So
there was
for
one more. I
me,
forget.
we can even have like a public part of the website or GitHub project or whatever for those ideas. I think there is nothing there that shouldn't be like a public discussion. And we can even again, the simplest way is just to create a GitHub document that will kind of have the abstracts and then later the outlines of these pieces of content.
So in here, so on my personal blog, at least, I have a section called drafts, which doesn't get published into an HTML page. So I'm thinking we could create something like that and just start a markdown file and just keep on putting ideas, and we can everyone can see it, right?
I don't think there is a problem of actually publishing it. Obviously, it's just like ideas, inspirational ideas, which is absolutely fine.
Fine. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I'm all for putting it all here so that it's also the same one place that we go to. Okay. We will act on that. Anything else for? Okay. I think there's a discussion on the chat about Kademlia.
Can you post the Lucid link, the Lucid app link?
Oh, the Lucid app link. Yes, I will post it to the Slack channel. This link, yeah. I think there is a way to create a copy link. Yeah, I'll post it to the Slack channel. So going back to our, so the question is, are there issues that still need to be triaged? So if you're an author of an issue, this is your time to talk. There are a bunch of issues that are still in triage. With triage, do they need discussion, or else they will just sit there for a while?
Yeah, the ones I created are for creating some documentation or
this one.
Yeah. So I think that it's fine in triage. I think, I don't know. It's
okay.
The other thing I noticed there is Elliot's issue about magnitude. I think that in general, the issues about BitTorrent, we should get rid of them probably, or how do we want to deal with that?
Yeah, I think we should probably move them to the won't do for now.
Okay.
If anything does actually need to happen on those, then we can always bring them back.
Yeah.
For the demo, are we still using Synapse?
No. I think what we are doing now with the peer-to-peer is also for demo.
Okay, that explains it. Okay.
Well, so, unless somebody disagrees with me, because I'm not sure. I don't think we have a demo we had a demo that worked with Docker and fetched images from Docker Hub, and we had this peer-to-peer demo, but they were not connected yet, were they?
Okay. Yeah,
correct.
They're not connected.
Okay.
The only thing that I can think of that we might potentially want to leave Synapse around for is if we can't make the P2P bit swap work. That's the only reason I can think of. Like, do we want to have a fallback, or do we just assume we know?
Yeah, we just move to lib-P2P.
Then we spike it. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Then we just
then we
Synapse.
spike bit swap and do and then spike meaning throw it away. Okay.
Yeah, spike as in terminate. Sorry. Yeah,
okay.
throw it down.
Explode. Yeah. Okay. So I'll close this one particularly and do the same, Elliot, if you have other tickets that are in the similar vein.
Yeah, if I find any, I'll do that.
Yeah. Just that I ask that anything you close, just explain why you're closing it, so that we know.
Absolutely.
Okay. Please remove the label as well, so that they don't come up when we search.
Which label? The triage?
Triage.
Any labels, I would guess. Maybe I should label them with something like don't do or won't do.
There's a generic won't fix if you like, but I'm not going to hold you to it.
Yeah. Okay.
So, okay, I removed and if I mark it closed, then it should disappear, right? Okay. So again, same thing with this. I'll clean it up. Are there other?
So
Yeah, go ahead, Mitali.
I have one question. Since we are using blockchain for metadata, and I think we were discussing, do we need metadata manager and document store that we have in the code, because that is integrated with Docker integration, and also that actually takes some time to spin up the metadata manager and document store. So if we remove that, that will also speed the increase to have it.
Yes. Yeah.
You probably don't want to remove those right away because the blockchain's not going to know anything about that. It's just going to save generic data. So how you save it, so your document store and what you're saving, your metadata, you're going to have to figure out all that. So all that code is still useful as of today.
Okay.
I would argue that having a API to query it through, even if it ends up lazy loading through the blockchain, still makes sense to me anyway.
Yeah. Meaning if the blockchain is able to provide all the features that are in the metadata manager right now, then we can retire it. If not, we'll have to repurpose it as blockchain implementation matures and see which parts we need and which parts can be leveraged from blockchain. Okay. Is this Abhijit? I see this one. Did you need to discuss this, or was it just triage because it was created fresh and we have clarity on what
I
needs to
just
be done?
looked into it. Steve had some doubts and I just left comments. It should be done soon.
Okay, so you are already working on this, and and this is similar to the PR template, right? Meaning there's an issue template. On the PR template, you created that, right?
Yep, that's how it is.
Yeah. Okay. Then, yeah. So if we have discussed that and we have enough clarity, I'll mark it triaged. So then, and you are working on it already?
Yeah, there's a PR open. Like
then I will move it here. All right. And then there's a link pull request. So I'll move it to in progress, so we know the status of it. Okay, this is a bug. README. I think okay. In the blockchain section, there are some triage. Chris or Christian or Shufei.
Yes.
Does this need triaging? Is there context you want to share with the team?
I mean, the most important thing I have going on, we have three main objectives going on here, right? So the first one is Shufei's got to finish up the signature work. Chris has got to integrate the stuff for Aleph. And then together we're working on the APIs, which I almost have a pull request together for, and we'll submit it to the bigger team soon enough and develop some more APIs as we go. So those are the three major things. I'm not sure that there's any triaging.
This ticket has a triage label. So I'm talking specifically about this ticket. Is this still in scope, or have things changed? Because I know that
yes, it's in scope, and we talked about it last week. So you can remove the label if you like.
That is my question. So if you have talked about it and know that.
I think we already have another issue to cover this issue.
Today.
Maybe we could close this issue. Yeah.
Okay, Shufei, can you look at this issue? I'll Slack you the number, and please link those and mark one of them duplicate if that is the case. I'll remove the triage label, right? Because I don't know which issue you're talking about, but you probably know. Okay, and yeah, this is just registering. We need to register this with IANA. And we need to work with IANA to file a ticket with them, or I don't know what the process is.
Do we have to have an official registered port? Can we just not use one of the open ports for any application? I mean, we don't have to do this. Seems like a lot of extra work.
I don't know if is it administrative only. I'm assuming it's administrative only. Then we can just fire that thread and wait for it.
You have to prove that it's well known, that it's established. The requirements these days are ridiculously hard, and I don't like. If you want to do the work, please go for it. But we can definitely avoid it.
Yeah,
oh,
so I'll avoid it by
happy.
moving it to the left. So not doing it right now, and then we'll come to it when we need to do all that heavy lifting. So these were from the artifact manager, the stuff that Mark was doing. Mithali, do you have an idea if these need to be repurposed or
I think these are related to the torrents. Elliot should know because they both were discussing
right. They're
all
all
these.
torrents, yeah.
Yeah. And if we are not doing, then I don't know.
So yeah, I mean, I think anything that has to do with BitTorrent, we're not going to be doing, and that includes magnet links. So yeah, I'll go through those. Any ones that I'm sure are BitTorrent related. Do you want me to close them and mark them as BitTorrent related, right?
Yes.
Sure, that's what I'll do.
Sweet. Thank you for taking that from my plate. Okay, I think the triage ones they go on top, right, by default, Chris, when the automatic ones.
Yes.
So I'll not go that far. So I think we have triage. So again, this is a BitTorrent one, so we don't have to talk about this. This is documentation. There was a blog we were thinking around this as well, like how Docker integration works and pull through cache, all of that. And this is that developer documentation.
Just as a side note, there's a documentation tag that you can add, and that will make them even better to find. There you go. Oh, look at that. Tags are gorgeous.
Tags are amazing, and then the auto color and all of that. That's amazing. Yes, I'll take small wins from GitHub. So this will go away. Okay. So I think we have covered the majority of stuff. Is this still in triage, or this has you, like, based on the conversation we had on Thursday and Friday and before?
Yeah, we talked about this, so you can remove
the triage, right? Okay, I'll keep the blockchain and then okay. I think we have addressed all of the triage ones, and we have kept the triage labels because there is an action expected. But otherwise, we have discussed them at least during this. So there is enough in the backlog that you should be able to find stuff to work on. And if you don't, then just ping me, and I can help you provide context, and I can help you with providing context and telling where we have information about it. But for me to do that, the first thing I'm going to do is click on a ticket and try to read the description. So please, all the ticket owners, please write descriptions so that I can at least get started when I am working with other people. Okay. I think that is all I wanted to achieve during the sprint planning. I think we have a good enough backlog, and we can just continue to execute. Any questions? No? Great. Awesome. Have a nice Tuesday, which is a Monday for people in the US. Bye.
Oh yeah, pretty much.
Okay.
Thanks, guys. Talk soon.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.